Welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a very short span of time in around 30 minutes. The idea is very simple. We want you to cover your current affairs on a daily basis, but we don't want you to spend your entire day just reading the newspaper. Therefore, this lecture series has been brought to you so that you save time in covering current affairs. Now, just after watching these current affairs, just after watching this lecture, you need to revise this lecture as well because revision is extremely critical in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Okay, if you want to remember these current affairs for long periods of time, well, you need to spend the necessary time revising these current affairs. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section below this video. So just click on that link, it will take you to our Telegram channel, and from there you can download the notes and spend the necessary time revising this lecture. All right, let's begin our discussion. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we are going to cover in today's lecture. Number one is related to Indo-US nuclear deal. Recently, USA National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan came to India, and he said that we have taken some significant steps in the implementation of India-US nuclear deal that was signed in 2008. The deal was signed in 2008, but it was not being implemented. But Jake Sullivan says that we have taken steps so that now this deal will be implemented. So what is this deal all about? How it helps India, how it helps USA? We'll talk about this. Then recently, Isro, India's premier space agency, has successfully conducted an experiment called the CROPS experiment in the space. Okay, so we'll talk about this experiment. Then Tamil Nadu government, or this chief minister of Tamil Nadu, announced a $1 million prize for anyone who deciphers Indus Valley civilization or Harappan civilization's script. Okay, so if anyone deciphers this script so that we can read what was written on the inscriptions found at the Indus Valley civilization sites, we will be able to better understand Indus Valley civilization, and anyone who deciphers it will get $1 million. So we'll talk about this. And in the end, a weird phenomena was seen in Jaisalmer, Rajasthan. Now, this weird phenomena is a geological phenomena and it is known as Artesian Aquifiers. So what are these Artesian Aquifiers? We'll talk about this too. All right, so pull up your socks, give me your 100%, and let's begin today's discussion, starting with topic number one, which is India-US nuclear deal. Okay, so what was in the news basically? So USA's National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan announced Monday that Washington, that is USA, is finalizing steps to remove long-standing regulations that have prevented civil nuclear cooperation. The thing is, India and USA signed a civilian nuclear agreement in 2008 that was signed between George W. Bush, the then President of the United States, and Manmohan Singh, the then Prime Minister of India. Okay, but since 2008, this deal was not getting implemented because there were some issues, and those issues were cropped up by both India and USA. Now, Jake Sullivan says that those issues are very close to getting resolved, and we will soon see proper implementation of India-US nuclear deal. Okay, the main roadblock in the implementation of India-US nuclear deal was that USA had put 3 government entities of India in its blacklist. Okay, that blacklist is known as US Entity List. Okay, and the 3 government entities that were 3 Indian government entities that were put in USA's blacklist were Bhabha Atomic Research Center, Indira Gandhi Atomic Research Center, and Indian Rare Earths Limited. Okay, so these were the 3 government entities that India found were crucial for the proper implementation of nuclear deal. But the problem was that these 3 entities, government entities, Indian government entities, were put under USA's entity list, blacklist. Now the question arises that what is this US entity list? And if Jake Sullivan is saying that we will remove these Indian entities from our entity list, how significant will that be? So first of all, what is US entity list? So basically, it is a list of foreign individuals, businesses, organizations that are subject to export restrictions and licensing requirements for certain goods and technologies. So basically, USA exports certain goods, certain technologies to different countries worldwide. But these goods and technologies are dual use. And by dual use, we mean that it can be used for normal things, okay? but these goods can also be modified to be used in nuclear industry. Now, USA fears that if different countries import these items from USA, they will repurpose these items for their nuclear weapons program. And USA doesn't want more countries to have nuclear weapons, right? That is why USA has restricted the export of these goods and technologies to entities or organizations mentioned in its blacklist or entity list. Okay, because USA fears that these entities would repurpose these goods and technologies for nuclear weapons. Okay, so USA puts export restrictions of these goods and technologies to these entities. All right, the list is made by Bureau of Industry and Security, which is under US Department of Commerce. The purpose is very simple, what I just mentioned: to prevent unauthorized trade in items that could be diverted to terrorism, making weapons of mass destruction programs like nuclear weapons, and other activities that USA feels is detrimental to their national interests. Okay, so USA had put these three Indian government entities, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, Indira Gandhi National Research Center, okay, all these entities also in its US entity list. Okay, and the reason for putting these government organizations in this blacklist was that USA did not want to give India certain goods and technologies for the fear of them being used for nuclear weapons, because USA doesn't want to support India to create more nuclear weapons of its own. Okay, but because of this restriction to these three government entities, the proper implementation of civilian nuclear cooperation under the nuclear deal between India and USA was not happening. And that is why this deal was put on the back burner and was not getting implemented. But now USA has announced that it will remove these three government entities from its entity list. Okay, and that would further pave the way for implementation of this important nuclear deal. Now, what is this important nuclear deal? Okay, India-US civil nuclear deal. Now, to understand this nuclear deal, you need to have some background. Okay, the thing is that in 1968, USA endorsed and sponsored an international treaty which is known as Non-Proliferation Treaty. Okay, under this Non-Proliferation Treaty, USA says, or the treaty says, that only 5 countries are allowed to have nuclear weapons. And apart from these 5 countries, no other country should develop its own nuclear weapons. These 5 countries are USA, UK, France, Russia, and China. These countries already had nuclear weapons before the signing of NPT. So USA said that apart from these 5 countries, no further proliferation of nuclear weapons should be done. But countries violated this treaty. In fact, in 1974, India did a nuclear blast, and then in 1998, Pokhran, India did a nuclear blast, right? Plus, India did not sign NPT. Many countries signed nuclear proliferation treaty. Okay, many countries have signed nuclear proliferation treaty, and if they have signed nuclear proliferation treaty, well, they give up on their aim of developing nuclear weapons. So let's suppose Sri Lanka has signed nuclear non-proliferation treaty. So Sri Lanka will never develop nuclear weapons. Okay, in exchange, US, UK, France, Russia, China say that if you promise not to develop nuclear weapons, then we will give you all the nuclear material, all the nuclear technologies for creating nuclear power reactors for civil purposes. As long as you promise us that you won't develop nuclear weapons, we will give you all the support to create nuclear reactors for electricity. Okay, we will also ensure that you get enough supply of uranium and other nuclear fuel. Now, India did not sign NPT. Why? Because India thought it to be a discriminatory treaty. Why only these 5 countries should be allowed nuclear weapons and no other country? Right? So India did not sign it. So India did not sign it. That is why India had the advantage of developing nuclear weapons. But India also had the disadvantage of being blocked from nuclear trade all over the world. No country which was supportive of USA and its allies supported India in developing nuclear reactors for civilian purposes, electricity. So India was blocked from buying uranium from the international market. India was blocked from buying nuclear reactors from the international market for developing its nuclear power generators. Okay, India was blocked from all of that. Okay, India couldn't buy nuclear fuel, uranium from anyone because India did not sign NPT. All right. Now, India had to then resort to self-reliance. India had to create its own reactors. India had to generate its own fuel. Okay, India was really struggling because of this. But India and USA signed civilian nuclear deal in 2008, which is also known as 123 agreement. This is the official name of this agreement. In that, India was allowed to buy uranium from different areas. Okay, this blockade on India to buy uranium from international market was lifted. How was it lifted? There is a group of uranium producing countries called nuclear suppliers group. Okay, those countries which have not signed NPT, nuclear suppliers group, does not sell uranium to them. Okay, the primary condition of entering nuclear suppliers group and getting uranium from these countries who have joined NSG is that you have signed NPT, but India did not sign NPT. But under this agreement, India was given an exception, a specific waiver. India was allowed to buy uranium, okay, because of this nuclear agreement. And because of this nuclear agreement, India signed nuclear cooperation agreements with many countries. Australia, Canada, and India started buying uranium from them. Okay. Now, USA said that we will lift the blockade from you under the civilian nuclear deal, but you have to do something for us. So India said, yes, we'll do something for you. We will put all our civilian nuclear facilities under International Atomic Energy Agency inspections. Because sometimes these civilian nuclear facilities are used to create nuclear weapons. So India said that we are not going to develop nuclear weapons from these civilian nuclear facilities. And if you want, you can inspect these facilities through IAEA. Okay. The Indo-US nuclear deal enabled India to import uranium from different countries. So this was the advantage. But this nuclear cooperation, okay, which allowed American companies to build reactors for India, nuclear reactors for India, this nuclear deal was not getting implemented. Okay, there were two major issues that acted as roadblocks. Number one, like I mentioned before, many government entities were placed in US entity list. The other was an Indian law. India actually passed a nuclear liability law. And under that liability law, if there is a nuclear accident, then the liability to provide compensation for that nuclear accident is on the operator of that nuclear reactor as well as the supplier of that nuclear reactor. So let's suppose a US company builds a nuclear reactor and supplies it to India. Okay, then that nuclear reactor which was supplied by a US company would be operated by Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. Okay, that is the norm. That is what happens. India imports reactors from different companies. Then those companies provide India the reactor, and then that reactor is operated, run by Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. Now, under the new nuclear liability law, if there is an accident, nuclear accident, then the liability to provide compensation for that would fall on the operator, would also fall on the supplier. Now, USA says that this is not fair because the nuclear accident that occurred was due to the fault of the operator. Nowhere in the world a nuclear accident, or nowhere in the world it is permitted to ask compensation from the supplier of nuclear reactor. The fault lies with the operator. Therefore, the operator should be found guilty and be held liable to pay compensation. Why are you holding us liable? But under this law by India, even the suppliers are held liable to pay compensation. Now, many US companies and US government says that India needs to change this law because suppliers shouldn't be held accountable, only operators should be held accountable. And because of this reason, the nuclear deal was not getting implemented properly. Okay, so these are the two major issues. Okay, all right. Let's move forward to next news item, which is ISRO's CROPS experiment. So what happened in the news? In a milestone for ISRO, the cowpea seedlings it sent to space as a part of a biological experiment on December 30 have sprouted their first leaves. So basically, ISRO wanted to check whether they can grow plants, food plants or food crops, grow plants in space. Because if ISRO can do that, then that would be really helpful for long duration missions in space. If ISRO wants to send astronauts to space and if ISRO wants to send astronauts for longer periods of time into space, then an additional burden of carrying food items for those astronauts is a problem. That is why ISRO wanted to see whether it can grow plants in the space so that those astronauts can feed on those plants. There is no need to carry additional food for these astronauts. Okay, so ISRO wanted to demonstrate its capability of growing plants in space. And ISRO has successfully demonstrated its capability. Under the crops experiment, ISRO sent cowpea seeds into the space, and these seeds have sprouted. That means they are growing. It was ISRO's first biological experiment in space and was part of CROPS, Compact Research Module for Orbital Plant Studies. Okay. Now, this CROPS module was aboard POEM-4 module. So, ISRO launched a rocket. On that rocket, there was this POEM-4 module, and in that POEM-4 module was this CROPS module, in which plants were there that have sprouted. Okay. So, about CROPS. So it is an automated platform designed to cultivate and sustain plant life in microgravity environment of space. It was developed by Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. It involves growing 8 cowpea seeds within a controlled environment equipped with active thermal management on board POEM-4 module. Okay, so it contains an automatic chamber that controls heat and moisture. Using that, these cowpea seeds have sprouted. The purpose was to demonstrate ISRO's capability to grow plants in space. Okay, now what is this POEM-4 we just mentioned? Now you understood what crops is. Okay, but what is this POEM-4 module? So very simple. Its full form is PS4 Orbital Experimental Module, designated as POEM, refers to the usage of spent fourth stage PSLV rocket. Okay, so PSLV rocket has 4 stages of fuel, of propulsion. The last stage of fuel propulsion would be used in this POEM-4 module to allow this POEM-4 module to rotate, to revolve around the Earth. Okay, in that POEM-4 rocket, there will be many experiments. CROPS is just one of those experiments. Okay, a total of 24 payloads were on this POEM-4. Okay, 14 were from ISRO and 10 were from private entities. Okay, now in POEM-3 there were only 8 payloads, but POEM-4 has 24 payloads, so it's a marked jump in ISRO's capacity to carry as many scientific experiments in space as possible. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, topic number 2 is also finished. Now let's straight away jump to a very interesting news item, which is Harappan Script. Now recently, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has announced a $1 million prize for deciphering the script of Indus Valley civilization. The thing is that we all know about Indus Valley civilization. Okay, now Indus Valley civilization was an advanced urban civilization that was present in India from 3200 BC to round about 1800 BC. Okay, it was a very advanced civilization. Okay, very advanced, and we know about the civilization through archaeological remains. Okay, there are cities, inscriptions, pots, seals, and whatnot. And examining those, we have gathered some information about Indus Valley civilization. But the problem is that there are many seals and pots and artifacts found in these archaeological sites. And something is written on those artifacts, but we do not know what is written. Okay, now the problem is that we do not understand this language, or we do not understand this script. And because we do not understand this script, we don't know what's written on these artifacts. And because of that, our knowledge of Indus Valley civilization is partial. If someday any bright person deciphers this script, understands this script, then we'll know for sure what was written on this script. And then our knowledge about Indus Valley civilization would enhance multifold. Okay, so the problem that we do not understand this script is a major roadblock in having, or a major roadblock in understanding Indus Valley civilization in its totality. Okay, no one has been able to decipher this script. The script, an enigma that endures for more than a century. For more than a century, scientists, archaeologists have been trying to decipher this script. Okay, now Indus Valley civilization was first discovered by John Marshall. Okay, who was a British era archaeological surveyor of India. Okay, so this information you should remember. Now, there are some debates regarding Harappan script or Indus Valley civilization script. First of all, look, all the artifacts that we have found, we have isolated some symbols. Okay, this is a symbol, this is a symbol, this is a symbol. Archaeologists disagree on the number of symbols in the Indus Valley language. Okay, for example, English language has 26 symbols: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. You remember all of that, right? So English language has 26 symbols. Similarly, many other languages have different symbols. So Indus Valley language should also have some symbols, but we do not know how many symbols there are. There is considerable debate among archaeologists. Some archaeologists say it's 30, some say 50. We do not know. Then there are some archaeologists who say that Indus Valley language is linked with Sanskrit or is a precursor to Sanskrit. These are the people who say that Indus Valley people were the same as people in Vedic civilization, whereas the dominant norm is that the people of Vedic civilization were migrant Aryans who migrated from Central Asia to India. Okay, so their language was different. But there are some historians who say that Aryans were not migrants from Central Asia, they were the indigenous inhabitants of India, they were the inhabitants of Indus Valley civilization. So Indus Valley civilization people were Aryans, and that can be proved if we can say for sure that the language used in Indus Valley civilization is the same language as Sanskrit. Okay, but there is disagreement. Some historians say some historians say that Indus Valley civilization people were Aryans. Some say no, they were different, and Aryans were different who composed various Vedas. Plus, some historians says that these symbols are not language symbols. They do not belong to a script. These are just symbols. They are not. They don't belong to a particular language. So some people are saying that before deciphering this script, you need to settle the question whether this is a script or not, whether you can call these symbols a script or not. Okay, there are some disagreements with respect to this question also. Now, many historians say that this is a script. There are a few historians who say this is not a script, but many historians say this is a script of the language spoken by Indus Valley people. Now the question is, how can we decipher or understand this script? Now, for more than 100 years, many experts have been trying to decipher this language, but they have not been successful. Now, why is it difficult to decipher it? First of all, many ancient languages that have been deciphered, many ancient scripts that have been deciphered in the past were found on multilingual inscriptions. Now, what are inscriptions? Something written on a pillar, stone, or something like that, right? Now, there have been many multilingual inscriptions. Basically, the same message is written in Greek, let's suppose. The same message is written in Brahmi. Okay, same message. In this stone tablet, same message is written in different scripts. Now, if you know the Greek script, then you'll be able to decipher the Brahmi script also. Okay, because you can compare the two. But the problem with Indus Valley civilization is that we haven't found any multilingual inscriptions. Then the language is unknown. Basically, experts say that there are three types of undeciphered scripts. A known script writing with unknown language. Okay, you know the script, but you don't know the language. For example, something is written in English using English symbols, A, B, C, D, but you don't know the language. Okay, because it can be French, German, or whatnot. Then an unknown script with unknown language. Okay, and unknown script writing a known language. And the last is script is also not known, language is also not known. Now, Indus Valley civilization belongs to this third category, and it is the most difficult category to understand. Okay, plus we do not know much about the civilization also, because if you have enough information about the civilization, then also you can easily make out what the script is. But there is not information available about Indus Valley civilization, which makes it even harder for experts to decipher this script. All right, and that is the reason why, well, if someone deciphers this script, then those $1 million are well deserved, because it is very difficult to do so. Many people have tried and they all have failed. Okay, and our last topic is artesian aquifers. Now, why were they in news? Because residents of Tarnagar village in Rajasthan's Jaisalmer district witnessed a unique phenomena last month when large amounts of water began gushing out from underground. Like this. Large amounts of water just started gushing out. Okay. Now, along with this water, a small amount of inflammable gas was also released. And the increase in water also created a depression pit. Okay, because of the water pressure. Now, experts have said that this is because of a geological phenomena called artesian aquifers. Now, what are artesian aquifers? Very simple. Well, an artesian aquifer is water stored under pressure underground, okay, between layers of sediments and soil below the earth's surface. So this water is stored, okay, it is stored underground. And the problem is that some layers of soil are permeable. That means water can pass through it, but some layers are impermeable. So it is surrounded by impermeable water, impermeable rocks. Because of that, this water cannot seep anywhere. And because of the weight of these rocks, very high pressure is put on these on this water body. Okay, so this water body is surrounded by impermeable rocks through which water cannot pass, and it is put under very high pressure. Okay, now if there is a rupture in the wall or in the rocks, if there is a rupture, crack in the wall or in the rocks, then this water gets some passage. And because it is put under very high pressure, this water actually gushes out, like at very high speeds, because of the pressure on it. So it comes out very fast, right? This is known as an artesian well. Okay. When a rupture, like through drilling, happens, that underground pressure forces water upward and toward land. Now, why is it called artesian? Because these wells or aquifers were found in a city or in a town of France. The name of the town was Artois, and it was in the Roman city of Artesium. Okay, so these aquifers were found in the Roman city of Artesium in France, and there was a town in Artesium called Artois. Okay, so using that, we have named these wells or aquifers as artesian wells. Okay, this city was famous for building artesian wells. Okay, because Romans were aware that water underground is put under high pressure, they started creating cracks, and because of that, wells started emerging. So they use this high pressure to create water bodies. Okay, that is why it is called artesian wells, because the name comes from the Roman city of Artesium in France. All right. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it would add more value if you revise this lecture as well. So make sure you revise it. All right. On that note, I'll be signing off. Thank you so much, everyone.